He takes a closer look at Joe Girardi, who, we love in this town, Mike, to say it's the manager's fault, it's the coach's fault, it's always their fault. It's never the players who are at number one fault. It's got to be them. But you wrote about, he knows the situations he's in. But I want to ask you, if he had a chance to reconsider this job, would he still find it to be an attractive job?
Well, that's a very good question. What I will say is I'm not going to try to read his mind. What I will say, though, is I don't think anybody who was at his introductory press conference in October of 2019 thought a year and a half into his tenure that he would, A, have a below 500 record, and B, he would be the subject of such ire and criticism from fans, and C, it looks like the road is leaning towards, what is Girardi's future here? Will he be a lame duck guy? He signed a 3-year contract with a club option for 2023. I don't think anybody envisioned the Joe Girardi era kind of working out the way it has so far.
Now, is this more that Girardi has lost the magic touch? He doesn't know what he's doing. He's a poor manager. Or is this more roster related?
To me, it's more roster related. I will say this, however, Joe Girardi, I think, has not been the difference maker that everybody thought he would be coming in, and he has made some peculiar moves. I mean, going out and forgetting he had made 2 trips out to see Wheeler earlier in the season, the lineup card snafu, and kind of an over-reliance, I think, on the double switch early in games. And then there's the bullpen, and although I do think that's roster related, I mean, it seems like every choice he makes in the bullpen, at least for the first year and a half, it seems like it's the wrong one.
Yeah, I know that the bullpen issues have been here, and this is a product, Mike. I kind of opened up today by saying I don't envy Dave Dombrowski. I'm not ripping him, but this is an organization that really they didn't do a marketable. They didn't brand their tank. But let's be honest, the Phillies were tanking for a bunch of seasons there. They just didn't brand it. They didn't call it anything. But during those years, they didn't get anything. And that's why they kind of are where they are. They have no help. They don't have anything to turn to, so they have to keep spending money to try to put out a serviceable team.
I agree 110% with that. I mean, I think, the way I say it is the rebuild needs a rebuild. The rebuild did not produce any young star players. And you look at the draft picks and all you see why. Mickey Moniak, miss. Adam Hazley, miss. Cornelius Randolph, miss. Scott Kingery, miss. Let's say I'll put Spencer Howard in the miss category for now, or at least options open. You can't miss on that many young players. If just a couple of those players, imagine if Moniak had developed into an above average major league player and was playing center field. Imagine if Kingery had been, an above average major league player and he was anchoring second base or shortstop. They missed on a lot of those guys, and it's causing problems because to me, when I look at the roster long range, I don't know how you fix it. I think, my NBA process fans would tell me the Phillies are where you don't want to be. They're a mediocre team. They're always going to be around 500 on the periphery of the playoff race with long-term issues that I don't know how you fix if you don't go backwards before you go forwards.
Yeah, I know the spot. I mean, basketball, there's only 5 players, so you have to figure out a way to get one of those upper-tier guys. One of the ways to do it is to try to get yourself high in that lottery. Baseball, it's always been thought of like the draft is almost an afterthought. But it's not anymore, right? The draft is helping teams. The draft is helping the Cubs. It helped the Astros. It's helped the Padres. It's helped the Blue Jays. These are the teams that are now winning because they were bad and now they're good.
Right. Well, you just named 2 teams right there, the Astros and the Cubs. Let's look at them. They went through rebuilds, right? The Phillies did the same thing. The Cubs came out of that rebuild with Chris Bryant, Anthony Rizzo, Javier Baez. The Astros came out of that rebuild with Correa, Jose Altuve, George Springer, Alex Bregman. Where are those quality type players on the Phillies? The Phillies have nobody near that ability from their own system that they brought up. So, I mean, that's your big difference. You have to hit on those young players, and the Phillies did not do it, and it's left them in quite a bind. And it's a bind they recognize, too, like John Middleton, right? When he hired Dombrowski, he said, our number one problem the Phillies' number one problem since the beginning of time is, except for a couple of eras, they haven't been able to develop or pick young, talented players, and it has hurt them throughout their franchise history, and it's hurting them now because, what you're going to see, I think the rest of the season is 2 steps up, 1 step back, 1 step up, 2 steps back.
Yeah, I know. You wrote about this today. Mike's must-win column appears in Friday's editions of the Press of Atlantic City. You said that Girardi knows it's his job to win. Did he put himself on the proverbial hot seat?
Well, that's where I got the idea from the column the other night when he said, he was kind of asked about the reliever and Neftali Feliz' performance. And he said, hey, this is a performance-based business and everybody's judged on wins and losses. He said, including me. And if I don't get the job done, I'm responsible and changes are made. So he's kind of acknowledging that, hey, it's time to get it in gear here, that this team cannot continue down the path that it's been on his first year and a half. Now, whether that's completely his fault or not, who knows? I will say this. Again, I go back to it. He has not been the dynamic difference maker that a lot of people thought including me, thought he would be when he came in.
Yeah, it was a high-profile hire, as you write. He was 9-10 and 7-10. He won the World Series. But people forget, too, he was the manager of the year when he was with Florida. Before that, with a team that didn't have a lot of talent, he was the National League manager of the year before he went to New York. So he had 2 good runs. So this isn't a guy who is regarded as some sort of fool, as many Phillies fans are making him out to be all of a sudden, Mike. So I guess the question goes to, has the game changed so much that a successful manager like Girardi isn't making the impact that he once made, or is the game changed so much that he can't make the same impact because what he did well is no longer the way the game is played?
No, I think he can still make an impact. I don't think the game has changed at all. I think a lot of these choices. I mean, let's face fact. It's the bullpen 110%. I mean, a few of these bullpen moves work out, and the Phillies have a few more wins. And, they're in the playoffs last year, and they're closer to first place this year. Don't forget, in 2017, Girardi's last year in New York with the Yankees, he might have done his best managing job with the Yankees during his Yankees tenure. He took a Yankees team that nobody had high hopes for. Remember, 2016, the Yankees traded all those guys. The Yankees, to my eternal, frustration, rebuilt in about 2 weeks what it takes some teams to do in 5 years. The Yankees did it in 2 weeks. And he took a team to the 7th game of the American League Championship Series, where if Todd Frazier ball is an inch higher, the Yankees might be in the World Series. So Girardi hadn't certainly lost his fastball. He didn't get fired from New York or part ways with New York because he had lost his fastball. It's just maybe it's the curse of Gabe Kapler or something.
He left New York though, Mike, because they had a difference of philosophies, right? I mean, the game started to change a little bit.
Well, they thought he was too intense for some of the team's younger players, I think, and they wanted to bring in a guy like Aaron Boone. I'm not going to say a hold your hand type of guy, tell you everything's all right, but they thought Girardi might be a little bit too intense for some of the team's younger players. But when you come to Philadelphia, hey, this is the city that loves intensity, right? They love our coaches and managers to turn over buffet tables. They want to treat every game like the World Series. So now Philadelphia can't turn up their nose and say, hey, we don't like Girardi because he's too intense. Come on, folks, here. Work with me a little bit,
All right. Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City. Go check out his must-win column on Joe Girardi. It's a really good one over at thepressofAtlanticCity.com. I don't envy Dombrowski, but do you like Dombrowski in terms of, hey, this is what we have, and this is the guy, and he's got the right buttons to push to fix it?
Yeah, I like Dombrowski as that guy. He's won everywhere he's been. Montreal Expos, Marlins, Detroit Tigers, Boston Red Sox. He's won everywhere he's been. I think he's the guy that I would trust to sort of turn it around here. I think he's got a big decision to make. Does he want to go backwards and rebuild a little bit? And that could mean trading some guys that are currently on the roster, or does he want to try to sort of patch it together while they try to rebuild the farm system? So to me, I'm a guy who I think you go backwards for a step or two. Not 5 years. I think Dombrowski can do it in 2. I go back, remember 2006, they traded Abreu and Pat Gillick said, we're not going to contend for a while. Well, then you had the stretch from 7 to 11. So maybe Dombrowski can pull off the same thing here. But I think the current situation, adding a guy here, adding a guy there, is just not going to work. There's just too many questions out there.
A lot of that, Mike, was they had their own talent. They had Hamels, they had Utley, they had their own group of guys. That's where they are really lacking, is they don't have their own guys. And how do you get them?
Well, you get them by being bad and getting some high draft picks. Correct?
Are you endorsing a process?
A mini version, a shortened process. I don't think it's got to take 5 years, and I don't think we've got to take Nerlens Noel to have this work, basically. But I do think the other thing you could do is you could make the process go quicker, right? By trading some guys like a Nola, maybe like a Wheeler, maybe like a Hoskins. Trade those guys for some high-level prospects, some AA, AAA guys who can get here in a year or so and kind of help you. I think that's one thing they should look at.
Yeah, yesterday we had the listeners texting in. The first thing they have to do to take the step in the right direction is what?
Good question. What do they have to do first step? I think they've got to decide to go backwards before they go forwards. I think it's trading some of the guys and sort of biting the bullet on this season and probably next season and hoping that you can come back in, I guess it would be 2023, with a team that can really contend for the division. I think if you add in some prospects that can get up here, and then you can augment that with some big-time free agents, which I think, they obviously have the money to do, and they have some money coming off the books, like McCutcheon's contract is up at the end of the season, then I think you can do something here. I don't think it's got to be a total, Pittsburgh Pirates, we're going to wander in the desert for 20 years, tear it down in Houston for 5-6 years. But I do think you might have to sacrifice, the rest of this season and maybe next season to be back in a contending spot in 2023. Because what you did from 15 to now just hasn't worked.
Mike McGarry from the Press of Atlantic City, his must-win column. Make sure you check that out on Joe Girardi. So every week, it seems like almost every day, Mike, there's a new Ben Simmons something coming out. The new one today is Malcolm Brogdon in a first-round pick for Ben Simmons. Does Mike McGarry make that trade?
Absolutely not. I mean, that trade is ridiculous. I'm not trading. Again, I'm put in the position where I've got to defend Ben Simmons, right? You put me in this position on a daily basis. I am not trading Ben Simmons to Malcolm Brogdon under any circumstances whatsoever. That to me smacks of the Indiana Pacers saying, let's see how panicked the Sixers are. Maybe they'll panic into a bad deal. Here's the deal with the Sixers. With Ben Simmons, they can win 50 games in the regular season and get to an Eastern Conference semifinal and lose in Game 7. They can bring Simmons back and do that again next year. With Malcolm Brogdon, nice player, hurt a lot. Please. Good move by the Sixers passing on that one. I'm not trading Simmons for Malcolm Brogdon.
Yeah, that one, is interesting because Brogdon, he scored 20 a game. I couldn't believe that when I was like,
everybody in the NBA scored 20 a game this year. They had a record number of guys score 20 a game. Again, he's a nice player. I'm trading Simmons. I think he's got to go, but he's got to go for an elite NBA type guard right now. And right now, Morey should be doing everything he can to talk to Portland and Dame Lillard, throw Maxey in, throw Thibault in, throw draft picks in, throw pick swaps in, throw second-round picks in, do whatever you have to do. Bring Dame Lillard to Philadelphia, but don't insult me and make me stand on a soapbox and defend Ben Simmons by telling me that Malcolm Brogdon is coming here for Ben Simmons. That's ridiculous.
I feel that's a new must-win column. Mike McGarry has to defend Ben Simmons.
Exactly. This is what it's come to. I'm now president of the Ben Simmons fan club.
Check out Mike's column at the Press of Atlantic City. Mike McGarry here on the Sports Bash. Well, enjoy the long weekend, man.
All right, you too, Mike. Happy 4th of July to everybody.
Same to you, and Mike McGarry here on the Sports Bash Live on 97.3 ESPN.